Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I thought I would chat with you guys a little bit about why I am so opposed to the term bodybuilder, because it's something I catch a lot of flack for, but people need to understand I actually say this with the best of intentions and with the well-being in mind of the people out there who are listening and people who train. I'm not actually saying it to be a hater, I'm not saying it to be mean. I'm actually concerned with all of your best interest when I say it. So let me put on my +5 hat of weaponsmithing, work on skill at my crafting a little bit, and let's talk about this. Because other people, other channels, and people have linked me, some of them have made videos over the years of me talking about that, and they don't like that I say that, and here's my reason for it. I say that because I actually consider the term bodybuilder to be a negative term, right? I consider that to be a bad thing, and it has nothing to do with people saying, oh, you don't think anyone should care about how they look. Actually, isn't it at all? Let's be honest here. When we survey people, hell, we even survey a lot of athletes, even strength athletes. On some level, the majority of people who go and train and who work out and do these things, their physical appearance and being more physically attractive is a factor. It's a motivation for the majority of people who train. It is a factor. If it's not their primary factor oftentimes, but it is an important factor, right? We all agree on that. So that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying you shouldn't care about how you look. What I'm saying is that if we really want to promote fitness and health and proper training, we really need to get away from the term bodybuilder because of the negative connotation that it represents, because the actual bodybuilding world itself is such really a terrible, I would almost describe it as a death cult or a degenerate lifestyle. Even though it's been glamorized by supplement companies, been glamorized by magazines, it's actually really a very negative thing, and I think it's a negative influence. And I'm not a fan of guys like Joe Weider. Joe Weider, who tried to say, oh, everyone who lifts is a bodybuilder. I feel like Joe Weider did more harm than good to the world. Like, I don't think the world is a better place for him having been in it. And that's an awful thing to say about somebody. But I feel like his influence was negative. And people say, well, what do you mean? We wouldn't have all these worthless supplements being pimped to people if it wasn't for Joe. Let's keep in mind, all the rumors were that, he again had a muscle fetish and he traded drugs. He traded drugs for sexual favors and all the guys he sponsored. So basically used people. He promoted a lot of really useless training methods that actually give people less results that really he just coined so that he could market. And that's the reason we have a lot of the really bad training methods that still are perpetuated by the professional bodybuilding world that only work because these guys are on drugs and because they have genetics, right? Their genetics and drugs are allowing them to get away with a lot of these silly training methods. But mainly he perpetuated the whole supplement industry, which isn't a good thing. For the most part, 95% of the products they sell are not only overpriced, but completely useless, and many of them are actually harmful, dangerous, and very, very few of them do anything meaningful for you. Those are very, very rare. They're rare. And most of the time they're addressing maybe a medical need you have, a dietary deficiency, an absorption issue. The majority of people who are on a balanced diet who don't have any health issues probably aren't going to meaningfully benefit from any supplement. Very, very few are. Most of these things should be fixed with diet. And that's truth. That's reality. So it doesn't really bring that much good to the table. It really doesn't. So you have all of that, and then you have the whole bodybuilding world itself. And so people need to understand that we all have different views of things. Because bodybuilding as a term, when I was younger, even when I took my first weightlifting class at college, right, we were told these are what these different things are. A bodybuilder is someone who competes in bodybuilding shows and worries about symmetry, proportion. A powerlifter is someone who competes in the squat, bench, and deadlift. This was a test question I had to answer on a test on this freshman level weight training class, right? One of the first exercise science type classes I ever took was a practical weight training class, and that was one of our test questions. What's the difference between a bodybuilder, a power lifter, and a weightlifter? So it's funny to me because I remember that stood out early on, and then we come over to the day where everyone calls themselves whatever they want. They want to slap this label on it, and here's what I would say: why do you need this label? Because to me that label is a negative thing. If someone says the word bodybuilder to me, do you know what pops in my head? Massive amounts of anabolics, gay prostitution rings, guys who abuse tons of anabolic drugs and snort coke and do heroin and narcotics on the weekend because it's a party scene. To me, that's what I think of when you say the word bodybuilding, because I've seen it, I've been around that culture. That is bodybuilding. It's this very degenerate lifestyle. And it has nothing to do with most of your training. Most of you guys aren't going to go get on a stage. You're not going to compete. You're not going to go hang out with these guys and snort coke with them, right? Because that's what they do. They party. And people who haven't been around that don't realize that it's a party scene. It really is. And it's nothing to do with health and fitness. These people aren't healthy. They're not fit. And again, they diet down excessively lean to dangerous points that hurt your health. Tons of fake muscle, all the side enhancement, everything else. A lot of you looking at those guys and you're thinking it's all muscle. It's not. You really think most of those guys don't have 3, 4, 5 inches of fake muscle in their arms? It's not actual muscle. Come on. You've been around those circles and you know these things. So to me, that's bodybuilding. And the reason I would push people away from it is not that I'm bothered by the word. If that community didn't exist and people chose to use that word, it wouldn't be a big deal. But the fact of the matter is, I feel like it is in people's best interest to move away from that word because that word is associated with that community. It's associated with that degenerate subculture and basically deadly lifestyle. And what you find is that a lot of people get into the fitness world, and I've seen it multiple times, guys who fall into it not caring about any of that, but as they train longer and they get serious, they say, maybe I should go do some bodybuilding. Maybe I should compete. Otherwise, it just feels like a waste of time, right? Because that community exists. They get drawn over towards it, and I don't think that's in anyone's best interest. I think that's a bad thing. I don't see that as positive in any way. And if we distance ourselves from the word and people who actually care about their health, people who care about their fitness, people who aren't involved in that degenerate lifestyle at all, people who still want to look good, can just be someone who's a fitness enthusiast, someone who works out, someone who lifts, someone who trains. They could be a lifter. Right? You could be a lifter. They stop using that word, it will give less highlight to that world. Because I really and truly think that if we want to push a positive message here in the fitness world, we have to distance ourselves from the bodybuilding world. We have to. We have to. Otherwise, we are not promoting fitness. We then become associated with a very negative, very dark, very harmful lifestyle. And it really is. It really is. It is. That lifestyle is just as bad, if not worse, as the average person who eats McDonald's and smokes every day. There's not really a big difference in terms of health. Yeah, it gets lumped in because people still want to use the term bodybuilder, and then you go over what's professional bodybuilding, and it's again, it's a degenerate, deadly lifestyle. These guys are dropping like flies, and you're going to see a lot more of it. So that's the reason I tell people you're not a bodybuilder, and I don't mean it in a negative way. I'm saying that so that people can create that disconnect, so that people can disconnect from that lifestyle, to avoid glamorizing it, to avoid encouraging people to get caught up in it, and to quit throwing money at it. Because, truth be told, if there wasn't so much money thrown at it due to supplement sales and people watching it and looking up to it, these people wouldn't be killing themselves. They wouldn't be as prevalent as it is. And I honestly, personally think it would be a good thing if the IFBB just disappeared. I actually think the fitness world would be a better place for it. And people would be healthier and happier and emotionally more stable and more fit if that didn't even exist. If it just disappeared off the face of the earth, we would actually be better for it. The actual fitness and lifting and training world would be. We really would. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.